Hello and welcome. Well, this evening we're going to talk about media excellence. And one such person who maybe achieved media excellence is our own brother who's passed on, Kwabena Dumor. Now, two gallant men who believe in communication and the respect for media excellence came to Multimedia to sign his condolence book. So I politely asked them if they could spare me a bit of their time to talk about media excellence. Is it really necessary? I mean, if you are in the media, isn't it about a little bit of sensationalism, a little bit of agitation to get your news out there? I mean, the man should bite the dog, isn't it? Is that not what our job is about? But they are here to tell me. Who am I talking to? I am talking to Honorable Kojo Yanka, who is the president of Africa University College and Africa University of Communication, I beg your pardon. And then I'm talking to Professor Kwame Kakari, who was a former member of the Foundation for West Africa, Media Foundation for West Africa, but now a lecturer, well, I think always a lecturer of the Communication School, University of Ghana. My name is Nana Ansakwa, and this is PM Express. Stay tuned. Hello, and the issue is media excellence. How important is it? How relevant is this? Indeed, does it not defeat the whole object? Yes, by all means there should be some excellence, but the sensation to drum up readers or drum up viewers or listenership, is that not why we are all hired into various media houses? Now, I've already introduced them, but I will introduce them again. I have Professor Kojo Yanka, Honorable Kojo Yanka and Professor Kwame Kakari. Now, these are thespians when it comes to communication. So if I am wrong, they'll tell you I'm wrong, and if I'm right, they'll tell me I'm right, and we will have an education as to the proper way things should be done. And I believe that by the end of the show, you would walk away with something positive. Gentlemen, welcome.
Thank you.
Professor Kakari, I'll start with you. How did you know Kwabena Dumor?
I only knew him through his work. I was on a number of discussion programs that he hosted, and that's how I got to know him. Otherwise, the only time, as far as I can remember, that I met him outside of the studio was at the University of Ghana bookshop when he had gone to buy a book or books. That's some years back when he was still at Joy FM. So I've basically known him through his profession at Joy FM, and then of course when he went to the BBC.
Okay. I'll come to Honorable. Honorable, how did you know Kwabena?
Well, I knew Kwabena from several angles. His mother, late Celia Dumor, was a member of the governing council of my university college when we started in 2002. He had just entered journalism, and therefore in all the visits that I made to their residence, not very many visits, I met with him. On the side, because we were in a journalism training institution, there were some seminars and workshops where I had to encounter him, in the company of other Joy FM reporters. But beyond that, we met outside of work and discussed the kind of passion that he had. Mm-hmm. And I thought he had something outstanding. And I followed his career throughout. I remember his mother saying that we don't even see him at home. He wakes up very early in the morning. He goes to the library to research. He goes to Joy FM, prepares adequately before his morning show, that kind of thing. The kind of time that he was investing in his work was exemplary.
Now I want to find out his works, exactly what he did that made him stand out. I mean, there's thousands and thousands or hundreds and hundreds of media men. What is it? What is that X factor that made him stand out? Right after the break, that's what I want to find out. In the studios with Honorable Kojo Yanka and Professor Kwame Kakari, talking about media excellence, all built up from the demise of Komla Dumo. And Prof, what is it that he did in his work that stands out so much? Because indeed it does. And you have eulogies coming all over the world, not just Ghana, all over the world from very high offices, all acknowledging that there's something that Komla did which was so right.
You are very right. And I think that's the most remarkable epitaph that his own work gets written for him. That people from Bill Gates, Clinton, the Mandela family, name it, President John Mahama and others would all come in and pay tribute to him, shows that he did his work well. I'm sure there are so many ordinary people who would also be giving him this kind of tribute in their own little corners. But what is it that made all these people come to respect a journalist? They didn't do that because he was simply working at the BBC. Perhaps the foreign personalities got to know him through his BBC work. But I can assure you that if he remained at Joy FM and continued to do his work as excellently as he did it, many Ghanaians would mourn him as we are doing today. And why is it so? For me, it's very straightforward. When we talk about professionalism, we are saying that a person must work according to the rules and the ethical codes, the do's and don'ts of the work. Komla Dumo sought out to do what journalism is all about. Tell it like it is, the truth, the fact. Don't bend it, don't twist it, don't put sugar, salt or pepper in it. Don't color it in any different way. Let the people know that A is A. And you see, if a journalist works like that, he's not working to please anybody. So A may hurt somebody, but the person who is hurt by the journalist pronouncing A would still respect the journalist for telling it as it is. So I think, in brief, it's all because Komla respected the ethics of his job. He researched, as Kojo has just said. He looked for the information as it ought to be. But above all, working on radio and on television, the techniques of the profession, the how to do, he also mastered it. Because it's like writing. If you are writing for the Daily Graphic or any newspaper, the grammar must be well done. He presented things, and if you notice, he's a Ghanaian, so he maintained the Ghanaian accent and pronounced the English language he was reading or presenting as it ought to be. He didn't have to turn his voice to represent something else, which means he was true to himself, he was real. And that's all professionalism is about. The truth, the facts as they ought to be, fairness to all sides of an issue, and that sort of thing. And you earn your respect.
Honorable, the fear of hurting A, I have to say it as it is, but it might hurt A. Have we cultivated a habit of the fear of hurting A and therefore slighting a bit or add a bit of water so it's not too potent?
I think it is lack of confidence that makes people, cower under certain influences. What is remarkable about Komla is that he didn't set into a formal classroom of journalism. Komla had the passion, he had the voice, but he also researched, he read voraciously. from books by journalists. He read accounts of work done by journalists. He listened to radio programs from several stations. The man, watched television and wanted to be like the top. He set his own goals. He set very high standards. Now, you remember even when he was here, people were trying to identify him with either this political party or that political. That was not his issue. His issue was to present the facts. And he researched. He didn't manufacture facts. Kwabena just tired himself out. He spent time in the library. He spent time on the website. I mean, let's ask ourselves how many of his colleagues are doing that. It is cheaper now just to speculate, but that was not his style. His style was just to go beyond what everybody is saying, research, and then, as Kwame said, more importantly, the ethics of the profession. I mean, Kwabena didn't foul any part of the ethics of the profession. Despite the fact that people say, he didn't go to a journalism school or not. I remember in 2002 when he won the Journalist of the Year award.
2003, yeah.
2003?
Yeah.
There was this debate about who is a journalist.
Yeah.
But that was not important. The important point, he exhibited it on the ground. He practiced that kind of impartial journalism that will make even somebody in the opposing side or still like him. And if you even read what Justice Emil Short said, even when he appeared, before him to be interviewed on the scandal, himself saw that this was a giant asking question because he was well informed. He had done his homework and he had the facts, he had the knowledge of what he was talking about, and that is the excellence we are talking about. Superficial things don't last, and that's what is raging now. But if there is anything that we have to learn from him in terms of the level which he took everybody, took his own passion, is the fact that he set his goals very high. He wasn't looking left and right for praises. He wasn't looking left and right for awards. I don't think that was what he wanted. He set his standards very high. He wanted to be an international, star in the journalism profession, and that's what he pursued.
I like the international take because I was just going to go there. He was able to hold his own because, BBC, I'm sure the best men will cramp of sheer intimidation of meeting big names like Stephen Saka, and these are big names, but somehow Komla was able to hold his own amongst them and stand tall.
Well, let me say that there have been a few Africans in the past, doing morning shows. Our own Mike Egan was there.
Yes.
There was the Sierra Leonean.
Yes.
Who passed a few years ago. There have been a few Africans, on BBC. This wasn't the first time.
Lisbeth Ohene.
Lisbeth Ohene was there. In contemporary time, this is Komla Dumont. And, because for the past 10, 15 years, there was even Kwabena Mensah.
Yes.
Son of Honorable J.H. Mensah. And there have been many of them. But he carried his passion very far. He probably saw them as icons when he was setting off. But then he wanted to go beyond where they had reached and reached, higher circles. So passion is one, and then call it ambition. Yeah, ambition. There's nothing wrong with being ambitious. He really was ambitious, and it built his confidence. So he wasn't afraid of whether you're a white journalist or a green journalist or a black journalist. It was just moving him in the right directions. Look at the confidence with which he interviewed heads of state. Some people will cower on the heads of state, but he gave himself that task to stand before them and ask questions. And before he did any interview, the amount of research he did on any personality, incredible. We are yet to find journalists, with that kind of skill.
Then the most important is we now, who are in the media. What should we take, so that we change the face of media? Because I think the perception of media today in Ghana, it's not a very good one. It's either MPP media or NDC media, and you pick up a newspaper or watch and it's all political. We just seem to want everything to be political. Prof.
Well, I think, yes, the situation is not the best, but I think it's improving. It may be slow, but personally I can discern some improvement, and I can assure you that in 10 years' time, if a radio station does not behave according to the standards we are talking about, it will lose out in the market, because the people are getting more and more sophisticated. I mean, the masses of the people who are tweeting, sending messages on Facebook about Komla Dumor, I don't think they are doing so because he was a handsome man. They are doing so because, wow, this is somebody who, let's say, is standing on BBC. And you don't get appointed, even as a laborer in BBC, just because you have this face or that. You have to prove something. And so I think that things will improve. It will take some time and some difficulty, but there are stations that are showing the way. Now, what must we do? I think that it's going to get in a situation where advertisers are going to decide. If you are not doing the right thing, I'm not going to put my money there, because the public is demanding excellence. And with Komlas, a death like this, painful as it is also a landmark for people to emulate such a personality and try and do right. So we may say he's a sacrificial lamb for advancing the profession we are all concerned about. Now, the party thing is also going to decline in terms of people's day-to-day attitudes to public affairs, because there will be a time when it will all come a full cycle. We've seen this, we've seen that. Now we are going to look at them differently. And journalists themselves, as Kojo implied, are going to find out that, look, pleasing a politician is such a withering affair. Tomorrow, you are thrown back into the ledge, because a politician will use you just like we will use a broom. Once it's dirty and short, we throw it out. And they are going, because people also have self-esteem. Young people who are going to go into the profession are going to seek self-esteem. They are going to seek the kind of ambition that Komla represented. They are going to look for higher standards. So these things are passing. We should not sleep. We should keep talking about it. But in the end, that many societies have gone through this phase of political partisan media. And they've moved on. So we will also move on. In the meantime, I think Komla's example is what's going to last. And that's what's going to carve the way for media people to emulate. But again, to add, a reality of what we are talking about is about ownership. The people who invest in the media, what is their vision? Because if somebody's vision is excellence, he won't employ a man like Komla Dumor. If your vision is excellence, then you look out for the Komla Dumors and so on and so on and so forth. But if your vision is the apron strings of some political politician or so, then you're going to look at somebody else. So again, we must demand that the people who put their money in media be visionary. Of course, it's like on every marketplace, it's not every item on that marketplace that is going to have the same quality. What we must hope for and work for is that at a certain time, the general standards in the market will be high enough for us to feel proud of.
Honorable Kojo, you look at SRC elections in schools today, and you hear the media has infiltrated. You see some of the youth coming out, and they are also sort of joining their grandfathers in MPP, NDC. And then most media houses, or quite a few media houses, seem to be built by some political mafia. So you lean to their apron strings. How fast is this change going to come, if it is, with these creeping in scenarios?
I think Kwame made an important point about Komla's departure being a landmark. Mm-hmm. I do not think that we're going to end the celebration, may I use the word, of Komla with just state burials and so on at people. I think we should go beyond that. We should look at even lectures coming up in institutions of learning like AUCC or School of Communication Studies, discuss what made Komla Dumor who he is or who he was. We are going to have awards named after him. We should ask for streets named after him. He's an icon not just for journalism industry, for the youth, a young man in his prime. And you will find certain characteristics of a man who has a goal, who has a vision. He didn't look left and right, as I said. And all these withering, journalists who are just panning to the interests of certain political parties, they will not be mentioned in any books because they are not lasting. They are just short-term, short-sighted, professionals who are just interested in what they will eat today and tomorrow. But the journalists that we want, everybody is going to ask for the type of journalist that Komla Dumor carved himself to be. And so, yes, I agree with him. It's a landmark. People are now going to look up and say, oh, here we are. Here is a journalist who passed, and all over the world. Yeah. And in this country, all political parties. I'm yet to hear of any politician who was saying Komla was an MPP boy or he was an NDC or a CPP. He was plainly a journalist. And that's the professional. Mm-hmm. And that's what the discussion, that's where it's going to go in the next couple of years. And it's not just in the newsrooms, even the training institutions. Yeah. We are all going to look at what really made him a remarkable professional.
Let me be a bit biased here, making him a remarkable professional. I mean, he was trained by multimedia. Can I gloat to say maybe we have set a certain mark which, helped shape him to who he was?
No, I must say that he worked at GBC before multimedia. The important thing, which Kwame said, was the owner of multimedia looked for him. Right? He saw something in him and brought him out. Yes. And so this is the point about visionaries he's talking about. You have to look for the talents, those who will make it. And then within a short time, he became the boss man. Everybody, hung around him, and he was training everybody, asked most of the people around the time. There was no formal training in the newsroom. He was like the guide, giving orientation and directing people where to go, no matter how young he was. The important thing is that he carved out that niche for himself. And I'm sure that the owner of multimedia would be very satisfied to see that, I made the right choice. People should be looking for that kind of journalists or professionals to be working with. And it's not just here, in all the newsrooms. You need somebody that people will, mobilize around and then move them. Because you need that kind of leadership, not only at the national level as people think. In small places like this, you need in every corner. We need the leaders, the visionaries who are not guided by, short-term political gains, but who are looking into the future and saying, we have a mission to fulfill. we need a lot more like that in the society.
Prof, let me take you back to something that Honorable said with regards to naming streets, lectures, honors. Have we maybe fallen short as a nation in glorifying our own heroes? Because these are some of the things that make somebody say, I want to be awarded this or recognized this way, therefore let me work double time to be able to achieve it.
Well, I don't think so. I think Ghana has always awarded respect where it should go. All the time, when people have stood up in excellence in whatever they do, Ghanaians have embraced the person and have basked in their limelight and have felt proud about having such a person come out of our soil. Kofi Annan, Azuma Nelson, Abedi Pele. In academia, there's so many people, scholars, people have, Ramadi, who died just recently. There's so many young women now who I know are sad because this is a woman whose life and work got them into science education, into this and that. And in journalism too, there are so many of the journalists who have become like icons for many people in so many ways. So I don't think we have fallen short. Kojo made a very important point about leadership. Now let's say that Komla represents not only excellence in journalism, but excellence in professionalism. And there are so many professionals who are doing wonderful things. Sometimes the media don't even, don't even catch them to put them in the public domain. For instance, I'll give you an example of a doctor who was working in Atebubu some years ago, who did a surgical operation on a hunter who had been mistakenly shot by another hunter with pellets in his, in his liver. Liver, surgery in the liver. It's done in a more sophisticated environment, but doctor friends I knew told me that this guy did his, took out the pellets from these persons with just an ordinary, an ordinary kerosene lamp in a table or somewhere like that. So in a community like that, they will hail him. People love excellence. People may applaud fraud today, but tomorrow they'll be damning the fraudster. So I think Komla also being a young person should be an inspiration for all kinds of young people who are aspiring to do so many different things. Take literature. Ghanaians, take Amatedu. Every school child from the 1960s to anybody who can read loves this woman, Ayi Kweyama, and so on. So I think that maybe the states, the governments, may not always give the order of the Volta to so many people, but the more important thing is that such people are made icons in the hearts of the population. That's what is more important, and that's what also lasts.
When I come back, I just want to find out. I'll let you do your interjection. And then, where is the revolution needed most? Radio, TV, or print? Stay tuned. The need for media excellence, and that's what we are discussing, and we are talking to communication thespians, Professor Kakari and Honorable Kojo here, educating me. But just before we went on the break, Honorable, I think you wanted to make an interjection.
Yeah, the point I want to make is that visionaries don't work for awards. They don't set out saying, I want an award. They have a goal, they have a target. And that is what Kobina was doing. I don't think he was looking for an award that, if at some point at multimedia, If multimedia wanted to award him, that's fine. Yeah. If the Ghana journalist industry wants to award him, that's fine. But he had a higher standard he was looking at. He wasn't satisfied, being encaged. He wanted to hit the international market. He looked out for what was needed to reach there, and he worked for it. He killed himself. He took all the risks, in the profession that I hope we will have time to discuss. But he did it and wanted to get to where, if you ask Kobina, even at the time that he passed, that had he reached his height, he would say no. Where did the Amampos come from? Where did the big interviewers come from? What, they have all gone through and been there for years. And now they're icons in every home. We need to produce more of the Christian Amampos, more of the Komla Dumos, Larry Kings, interviewers, great ones. That's what, because this world is an interdependent world. We call it a small village. So why are we just satisfied with, the little, and then, sitting on people's necks with ideas that are unfounded and, ill-informed. So that landmark point is a very important one. We should just start looking at what is the excellence we are looking for.
The rest of the media men today, daring to mention names, who do we see as the next Kwabena Domoh or close?
I don't think it's for us to determine.
No, there are many.
There are many potentials.
Yes, and if you look again, I am an optimist, and I'm always trying to look for good things where they are. And there are so many talents, I can assure you. Look, for instance, today, if you go to many newsrooms, you have people with university education. And I think they are doing well. Look at your own radio station. There are so many of these young men and women who are doing well. And I think that for your organization particularly, the impact of Komla Dumoh is visible. You see, it's very visible. I think he left a legacy here that, Kojo Opon Nkrumah must have been one of his more known, beneficiaries, and so on and so forth. There are many in different newsrooms, I think. On many of these private TV stations, you can see, people. Now, GBC, take GBC. As far as I'm concerned, it is the one station that is still professional, doing things professionally. You see, and you go there, you find very good journalists. So they are there. They are there. They may not be employed by the BBC, but I think they are making their contribution.
Now, communication and media, or many angles in which they come in: radio, you have TV, print, and now there's online. And clearly, there needs to be a sort of a revolution in changing the way we do things for the better. I mean, which of these areas need the revolution the most? I'll start with you, Honorable. Would you say radio in the morning, TV, showing their Spanish movies all the time, printing their political news all the time, radio shows also just picking up what prints? Why do we need a revolution the most?
I think it should be concurrent in all the various areas, including training institutions.
Yes.
Sometimes we even have to look at what we are teaching. Is it relevant now? We have to rethink. News is now depending on speed now. Are we providing the speed to our students? Are they cultivating that kind of habit, that kind of passion that you need to break through all these doors? Yes, media rooms like multimedia, you have to really do your own home assessment. In the same way with all television stations, are we really moving ahead, or we are still where we were 10 years ago? So the questions have to be asked in all the media-related institutions, and that's the only way we can see some difference. As we are speaking, there probably are some journalists, either in radio or television or online, who are finding a way to break through like Kwabena did, Not, as he said, necessarily joining BBC, but how to stay on course, impartial, not adulterated, not labeled, and saying, this is the journalist that everybody will look up to. Not the ones that are always asking for bits and pieces before they can do stories.
Let me add something to what Kojo said. Again, if you look at the media, and you mentioned TV is a huge production unit. And you mentioned these Spanish, telenovelas and so on. So you ask yourself, where are the script writers and producers of
novelas?
Yes, the stories are there, but where are the writers? Where are the script writers? Where are the producers, the actors, the directors, and the editors? So the question of Komla Dumo and professional excellence goes to everybody working in every aspect of media and so on. Let me give you another example. Take advertising. You can see that, one, because of the growth of our economy in the last 20 or so years, and also the wide growth of the media, you can also see the changes in the quality of the production of advertising material. If you look at the billboards, because of the competition for the companies to catch your eye, there is a higher quality now on even the art, the photography, and so on and so forth. So, the excellence we are talking about should be seen in all the different areas of media work. Even the driver driving Kojo said news is now fast. Because if you don't get it now, it's on somebody's blog, it's on Twitter. So even the driver that is driving the crew to shoot a story must learn how to drive fast but safely. So the question of excellence, you can look at it from every direction.
Then the next question is our easy to accept, as for Ghana, that's what we do it. That culture. How do we contemplate, or how do we get rid of that culture to move into accepting, to achieving greater height? How do we brainwash ourselves out of this?
I think that gradually people are getting away from that. And why? Because the international media is also here. People are seeing differences. When you tune into other channels, you see the difference in production, you see the difference in presentation, you see the difference in photography. And so it's gradual, but it's going to happen. The way we do things will be overtaken by events. You'll sit in your radio station or your television station, and nobody is going to listen to you. They will tune out because some other station has been fast. They are doing things more, professionally.
Let me interject, because I've got a little time, just to find out with AUCC, are you instilling in your students the new speed culture of news?
Absolutely. I mean, this is... You are putting AUCC on the carpet. But this is for sure. That's what we are looking at, what is going on the cutting edge all the time. So we are providing. That's why you go to AUCC and you just sign on into an iCloud. You are on the internet. You can search. We are opening the world to all the students who come over every day, and then you have access to our radio station, which is also now producing more programs, although experimental.
I was actually on your radio station.
Oh, you were? Congratulations. So we are looking out for new ideas and new ways of doing things. And we are always looking at what is going on, the trend, what is trending. And that is where we are going.
Let me give Prof the last word, and it's basically an advice to all media men, to probably break out of their fear and achieve that excellence. Something that will ginger us.
I think Kojo put it very well in an earlier contribution he made. One, self-confidence. But self-confidence is not something acquired in a vacuum. Self-confidence can only be built based on knowledge. So our media people must understand that they are in front of the whole world, the whole community, and they are the eyes, ears, and spokespersons for the community and the society. They are the ones that we all depend on to know what is going on in our environment, in our country, and in the world. So they have a responsibility to be honest, first with themselves. That what I'm putting out there, I can defend it. I will not run away from it when I am confronted with it. I will not be ashamed of it when I'm confronted with it. And when I go back from work to my house and I'm sleeping, I will not have any qualms in my conscience that what I put out there was the wrong thing. Self-confidence is very important, and as I said, it can only be built on learning all the time. Like Kojo remarked about Komla Dumo, reading. Make it a passion. You must have the passion. And Cameron Diodu came to our school to give a seminar. And Cameron Diodu is one of the finest this country has produced in newspaper journalism. And he said one key thing also for media journalists is curiosity. What is it? What is going on? Which means you must keep searching and not be satisfied with what you have. You know, so learning, self-discipline, passion, and curiosity are very important ingredients.
Thank you very, very much.
As we say, knowledge is power.
Yes,
knowledge is power.
Exactly.
I told you walk away from the show with something. I was talking to Professor Kwame Kakari and Honorable Kojo Yanka. My name is Nana Ansakwa, and as I say, tomorrow we'll be back to do it all over again. Thanks for tuning in.